Welcome everyone to our interview with Olli Zeidler and Stef Broenink. My name is Dolph, working for RP3 along with Stefan, who will take the minutes today. And I'm joined here by reigning world champion, Henley winner, current holder of the World Cup hat trick. And I guess I'll stop there just to save time. Olli Zeidler in the single scull. And of course, Stef Broenink, winner of the Olympic silver medal in the double scull and recent winner at the Luzern Regatta, also in the double scull. Both of you preparing for the World Championships right now. On the day of recording, the entries have just been released, so I'm wondering, how are the preparations going for the both of you? We could start with you, Olli.
So far, so good. So thanks for having me, first of all. Yeah, the preparations went pretty well so far. I'm pretty happy, but yeah, the training is still very hard and the body is not really feeling ready to race, but the times are already decent, so I actually can't complain, and I'm really looking forward to leave in 1 week time towards Belgrade to check out the course there, and yeah, coming back there because I really like the regatta course in Belgrade. And yeah, I hope I can continue my good form from the previous regattas this year.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Shall I continue?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
It sounds very familiar to my situation. So the times are pretty good in the boat now, but yeah, I still feel quite tired from the volume and intensity are still way both up there, and but it's good to have a nice form, and the Bosbaan is very fast these days, so I'm wondering to see if Belgrade will be the same. But it's, like Olli said, it's a really nice course, and yeah, it's like my 4th time there, I think. So I know where the hotel is, where to go to get groceries and stuff. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and then rowing on a fast Bosbaan is pretty good motivation too, I guess.
Of course.
So, Stef, you've been rowing with RP3 for a while now, rowing for the Dutch Federation, one of the early adopters of RP3. But the first question I wanted to ask, and I think a lot of people may be wondering, especially if I read the Instagram comments when we announced that Olli had recently started working together with us as well. Olli, what was the reason that you decided you wanted to start using RP3?
Well, I rode with RP3 before as well, so especially during the summertime, I really preferred using this machine because it gave me a better feeling in the boat and was more beneficial for the transfer between erg training I'm doing all year and the boat training that is more important in the summer months. So yeah, it was a step that was not surprising, I would say, that we worked together, especially as I already used the RP3 before.
And Stef, for you, I think maybe it was more of coming down from the Dutch Federation that it was sort of the new way to go, or how did you experience that?
Actually, it's quite similar. So yeah, we adopted a bit earlier, of course. I think it was 2017 or 18 that we decided to buy some more RP3s, because I think we had 2 of them standing around somewhere in Amsterdam, but no one was really using them. And then at some point we decided to incorporate them a bit more, and also at first only in the summer. And that's when we found out that if you do if you're full in the summer mode, but then there's too much wind or something else which doesn't allow you to go out in the boat, then you can still do a pretty decent test on an RP3. And we were used to that you had to switch, that you had to get used to the indoor rowing motion a bit more when you're doing this on a static erg. But with RP3, it was more seamless to transition. So that's when the coaches decided at some point, okay, well, we're just gonna switch everything, and then we do all the tests on the indoor rowing machine. We do everything on the RP3, and then we had to build like a database and to see, okay, what is a good score on RP3, and But now that we've transitioned, it's not really a problem anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, is that become like a big difference in using RP3 as well for you, Olli, like incorporating it into the training schedule in a certain way?
Well, I will try it out this year now, so this winter, until the 2024 Olympics, to really stay on the RP3 also in winter, because usually we did our tests, our national team tests are still on the Concept 2, and I just want to try how the RP3 might influence a Concept 2 score as well. So I'm really curious to find out. And in the end, it's all about the Olympics in the end, and it will be an on-water regatta. And if the RP3 is supporting me in my rowing movement, I think this could be beneficial to do it all year, even when the lake is frozen for a few weeks here in Munich. Then having this rowing movement, or more close to the rowing movement, might be good and might help me, hopefully.
Yeah.
Was it a problem then to not do the national tests, or?
Well, I think I will do the national tests as well. I need to do them on the Concept 2, but I think this will be also interesting to see how the training on the RP3 might affect these scores.
Yeah. And how do you sort of experience that because that's something we've heard more when we've talked when we've spoken to athletes and to coaches, that they feel there's like this transition period with the static erg and coming out of the boat. How do you experience that? Is that a problem for you, or do you not really have an issue going from the boat back to the static erg or the RP3?
Well, I think the feeling compared to a static erg, so the boat compared to a static erg, is different, because you have a lot of you need to put a lot of pressure in, especially at the catch. And well, it was always a good strength training, I would say. When I do it on the RP3 now, it's really more work with the legs, and then kind of finding the movement I also do in the boat. So this is much easier, I would say. But yeah, we are using the rowing machines in general like 2 times per week all year. So I never had a big transition period between them, because I was always into indoor rowing in some kind, even during the race season.
Yeah.
I had that during my career. Initially, I was like an indoor rower more than an on-water rower, because my success with indoor rowing was quite a bit better at the beginning than compared to on-water rowing. I think you might have had maybe the same experience in the first couple of years. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
But then for me, it was like I was very much for me, the on land or the indoor rowing was almost as important, or maybe even more important than on water rowing. And I think that may have impacted my form during these first couple of years, that I didn't want to let go of the performance I had on the static erg. Do you feel that you had the same, or?
Yeah, kind of. I think the big pro of an erg in general is that it's very comparable. So you can do it wherever you want. You can really compare times. Even if someone in Australia is now doing a C2 or an RP3 2K test, and I'm doing it here in Germany, you can still compare yourself, and you really know where you stand. So usually in rowing, it's always combined with a lot of logistics to bring boats everywhere to race against each other. What it is in the end all about, to have these side-by-side racing. But yeah, with the indoor rowing machines, it's of course much easier to compare yourself. And I think it's also attracting more people to really be able to compare with the best in the world and see what powerhouses we are and how to get there.
Coming back to the sort of the switching over to the different training modality with the RP3, another thing that we've heard speaking to coaches is sort of the idea that Using a C2, you can sort of go as far as you want to go. You can go as deep as you have to go. You can kind of empty the tank in a certain way, and that they struggle to do that with, for example, in the boat or perhaps on RP3. But I'm curious how you experience sort of the training intensity that you can find using RP3.
So I would say it really depends on the pieces you're doing. For me, I can really empty the tank if I do a few 500s on the RP3 the same way as on the concept. The only thing that comes in mind all the time when I think about indoor rowing, it's still the one time I really was done as never before, and this was on a concept 2, and I haven't been able to achieve this level of exhaustion in the boat or on any other machine. So even if it was a rowing machine or a bike or whatever, but yeah, time will show. Maybe I will be able to do that next year, because going into this level of exhaustion is also not very healthy. So
True.
Yeah. For me, it was on the RP3. We do like biannually. We do a step test. So we do 4 minutes at a step, or like a score, 1 minute rest, and then we do it for 6 or 7 times, and the last one is flat out. And we used to do 5 minutes rest before the last step, and one time I sort of because at the 6th step you're already high in lactate, and I sort of misremembered my score that I had wanted to do. So I went in way too fast, and I think that's way up there with how bad I felt after training. So and that was an RP3. So
having to hold on for dear life at the end.
I had to walk for I had to walk it off for like 20 minutes before I could function normally again.
So what you're saying, Stef, is that actually you can go flat out on RP3 as well as you could do it on C2. So you do have the experience as well.
Yeah, I think the major difference is on the RP3 and also on the boat, you can do much higher stroke rate than on a concept 2. So I think on the concept 2, you can way more easily overexert yourself by doing a too high stroke rate, and then you have to. It feels like you're hitting a wall. And on the RP3, it's a bit more like being on a bicycle, I think. So it's
flowing more.
Yeah, and the machine feels a lot lighter, but still you can really push yourself if you want to. Yeah, it's just a different experience, and I think it's a bit harder to achieve. You need you need to be a bit more skilled or experienced in it. Yeah, I think that's the same also is true in the boat. I mean,
yeah. But you often, what you often see with less experienced guys that are on C2 and on RP3 is that when you aren't able to do technically the best, the performance on RP3 is worse than on C2. Instead of when you are a good rower, technically you can have better scores. So people that really can row can use RP3 even better than people that aren't experienced yet.
I think that's a major point also for that we saw here in the Netherlands at some student clubs, is that the freshmen are not really performing that well on the RP3.
No,
but they're also not performing well on the boat. So
yeah, so it's a bit more of a parallel to rowing and sort of the reward for technical rowing. So I don't know if you guys have experienced that. Sort of, we feel that there's certain things in the movement that you can replicate well on an RP3. I think one of the main examples that we've spoken about, sort of when developing the machine, is sort of that feeling of floating, so to speak, towards the catch, and more sort of the finesse needed to get away easily, and then bring that over to the boat. Just curious if you guys have felt if there's real sort of technical benefits that you've managed to achieve using the RP3 that you've brought onto the water as well?
Yeah. So I would say it's definitely the leg drive that is much more comparable to the boat. So if you really push your legs very fast and really start with the movement of the legs on the RP3, what is kind of a symbol for a good stroke compared to a lot of body work in the first part of the stroke. I think that's something I was really able to transform well in the boat, and what also helped me to improve my technique and boat speed in the end, because I was much looser after using the RP3 on a high intensity session compared to the Concept 2 in my shoulders. So when the shoulders are loose and you only push through your legs, then you save a lot of energy and the boat is moving better. So that's something I really liked and experienced in my training.
Great.
Yeah, that's I think that's very recognizable again. So especially also looking at the power curve, you can really see. And it's something I learned while I was working here at RP3 now, is that if you grab too much on your upper body or you engage it too much, then you can see this sort of dip at the second part of the power curve. And by focusing a bit on that and then translating that into the boat, and it felt more like the things that I was already trying to improve in the boat, that they also benefit the score on RP3. So for me, it really helps then that both of these tools sort of achieve the same result, or they sort of gave the same feedback.
Yeah. And one thing that, if I can speak from my own experience a bit as well, that I've noticed is there are certain, like, I remember one of the first times I sat on RP3, I was with, or not one of the first times, but a recent time, and then I was with Stefan, and I finished like up here, right? And then he said, "Oh, you've been using a static erg, haven't you?" And then you know, because that's kind of like this trick you learn, right? That, oh, the higher I finish, then I get more length. And then on the RP3, you actually notice that it doesn't reward you for doing that, because you sort of mess with your power curve a bit. And that was also an interesting sort of learning aspect of using the RP3 machine, which is kind of another thing that I wanted to ask about, because RP3 is more than just the machine. It's also the app, and there with that the power curve, and sort of the different metrics that you can measure using the machine. So how have you experienced that so far, Olli? Sort of the more detailed screen, the power curve, and the feedback you're getting from using an RP3.
Well, I think especially the power curve makes you really improve yourself. So I think an erg is a crazy machine. Doesn't matter what kind of erg you're using, because you're always looking at numbers usually and try to find some motivation out of it. And with the RP3, with this seamless force curves, where you can really see every single centimeter you pull, and where you might go a bit steeper with the force curve, where you can hold it a bit longer up. It adds a lot of value, because you get a lot of data out there, and you can really work on small things and see directly what the change of movement is doing. So this is something I really, really appreciate.
Yeah.
Do you, Stef?
Yeah, like I just said, I really like Olli's answer. It's you're just looking at all these numbers that are changing all the time, influenced on what you're doing. I think that during a test, it could be a bit overwhelming to have all these to focus a bit too much on them. But the power curve, it has definitely helped, especially when you combine it with for instance, like on water measurements of power, that you can try to see what your curve is there, what the coach has said that you had to change about it, and then try to figure it out on RP3. And it's also nice to focus on something else that isn't the score or the split. It's like a nice drawing, and yeah, it really helps, I think. Yeah, especially because it's also quite big due to the tablet. You just have you can make it bigger, and it really improves, or it gives a lot of good feedback.
Yeah, and maybe not as much with you, Olli, but being a single sculler. But I'm curious if you guys have worked at all using the power curves to sort of sync up with crewmates and with other rowers to sort of, or compare power curves to each other to see if you can work better together in a boat together, or sort of as a crew.
Maybe we should do that some more. I think, yeah, we usually use the RP3 a bit more during the part of the season, like the winter, when we're a bit more in individual mode. So when we're not really working together as a crew, well, not that much. And well, in summer we try to row as much as possible. But we would. I have experimented in the past with linking up these RP3s, which was fun. Especially can be frustrating, but then yeah, it sort of mimics how it is in a boat, that you also have to adjust to each other. Yeah. But I should definitely experiment a bit more with that.
And do you compare your own power curve, for example, with others to see how they're doing it, or to see how you can improve?
Yeah, well, if you're sitting next to someone during a long training, then yeah, of course you're gonna look. So, and some people really have this distinct sort of fingerprint-like curve, and
yeah,
that's also funny to see. Yeah, funny to see, or to, for instance, one of the tablets is logged into my account on the portal, so I sometimes get these random exercise, or there's like these random trainings in my portal, and then I try to watch and look at the power curve and see who it might have been, and also just looking at the score and the rate. So.
Okay. So Olli, are you already using the new functionalities of the portal we have already, or do you just do the app and the machine, or do you do more already?
Until now, I kept it pretty basic. So I used the app, the machines, and I did one race, but I haven't checked out all the features you published lately. So this might be a task for me after Worlds and for the new season to check it out.
Exactly. So what we really are curious to see is how sort of your RP3 training benefits your on the water rowing, and in what way it affects it. I would definitely recommend, Olli, that you start using the portal, start getting on the leaderboard. I think you can get up there pretty well if you do your best, and then see how high you can get. But and with racing, you were saying as well, I believe in the past you raced against Serie before. Is that am I remember that correctly? You did a 2K
yes,
remotely.
That's
and
right.
Quite a while back now, I think. And is that something that you think the RP3 lends itself to, sort of this sort of online racing? Is that, you mentioned it earlier, is that something you see happening more often in the future?
Well, I think at certain points of the season, it's definitely something people would like to do. So maybe not during the World Cup or World Championship preparation, but beginning of the year. So January, February, when you really come out of winter training and slowly start pushing again, then this might be cool and also good to see what the others are capable of already, especially when you have like 3-4 months to go until the first regatta.
Yeah.
I could also imagine it because you're training mostly alone, right, in Munich?
Yes, that's right.
So then it might be a bit more interesting also to add in some outside perspectives, or to see how others are doing. And
Great.
so I was thinking, we have a lot of internal tests, but then you're racing against like 10 to 15 other guys or something, but it would also be fun to make it an online event or something so that everyone could join. That's,
yeah, this would be cool. Why not?
yeah. Would you like to join?
The federation would hate it to share all their scores, but we should. I should really join your 2K test. This would be cool, I think.
Yeah. It would be fun. I could propose it maybe to make it like that we do like the whole Dutch Federation test online, that others can also join. It would be.
It's like a little online Holland Baker with Olli.
Indeed.
Great, perfect.
Sounds like a great idea. Yeah, then I think the last question I have on my list for now. So, like Stef said, you train sort of on your own mostly, and I believe you're at the moment the only German athlete that is sort of officially stepped over to using RP3. So we were wondering sort of what the situation is in Germany and what you think is sort of the best way for not just Germany but sort of the rest of the world to start using RP3. Like, how do you think that we can continue to grow and continue to help more athletes be as good as they can be?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the main problem is that most of the coaches are very conservative. So they have their Concept 2 ERG scores, and they always compare them with from year to year to check how fit their team is. Germany would be actually a good example, I think, where you might have good chances to change that, because the guys are not very strong on the ERG, and maybe they could perform a bit better on an RP3 then. Maybe they are more used to that, who knows? And maybe to become that the ERG becomes a more fun training tool again. Who knows? So in the end, you really need to find a way to get the comparison between other athletes and really get some benchmarks, I think, where you can always stick to. Usually, I'm guessing it will take around about 2 or 3 years until the coaches have their data together to really perform all the tests only on the RP3 then. But yeah, if you really can point out the benefits of an RP3 and really show that in the end you get actually more data out of it than with a Concept 2, then why not convincing even the most conservative coaches? I don't know.
Do you think it would help then to have a sort of a leaderboard, but then on not like the best times, because we were already good at the Concept 2, so like I think for the really strong athletes, it's more or less the same. They can also really perform well on the RP3, but we also have a lot of athletes here in the Netherlands who had like a pretty, well, not a terrible, but not a really good score on the Concept 2, but they now switch to RP3 and they perform really well. Like and it seems to be quite a bit more similar to what we see in the boat with these athletes. For instance, Melvin, like my double partner, he has an amazing score on the RP3. And well, yeah, he doesn't do a lot of Concept 2 tests anymore, so it isn't that much of a fair comparison. But because it was like 5 years ago, he did the last Concept 2 test. But now you can see, like, okay, well, he's really fast in the single, but then also he's really fast in RP3, so it makes a lot of sense. So maybe it would be good to have like a list, like, okay, well, we have these guys and these are their scores.
I think with the Concept 2, it's pretty simple. If you row a 540 on the 2K on the Concept 2, you know that you are one of the strongest in the world, and you don't have like this comparison. When are you really top of the game on an RP3? Because there are not enough people who publish their scores, or there are not options to get the information you need to have got these comparisons. But I'm really convinced that it will help a lot of people who are at the moment not coming into the team because of poor ERG scores, who might be able to go into the team and also show their strength in the single then, because I think it's actually more comparable than to an Concept 2. And yeah, then help people continue with rowing. That's a thing we have a lot of problems with in Germany, at least. Really continue rowing and making a team.
Yeah.
How did you experience? I don't know how close you were to that process, Stef, but with the sort of building up of this database, once the Dutch Federation made the step, was that a very difficult process? Did that take very long?
In the beginning, we tried to do like a fixed time between because everyone was still trying to calculate back to Concept 2 times. And then first it was like 4 seconds, then 6, 8, and at some point people were really saying, yeah, it's 10-second difference. And it was getting a bit ridiculous because some people they only went like 4 seconds faster, and some went 12 seconds faster. So it's at some point we just completely abandoned the Concept 2 scores, and I think we're at that point now. But it just takes some years. It's you cannot really say like, okay, well, this is like the fixed formula. Take your old score. This is your new score. It all depends on a lot of factors. For instance, how your weight, your length. And
so I think we have to provide this more information and more analysis and more, and like we are talking at the moment, provide more for to what RP3 can bring.
It's a culture shift, and you also saw it. We saw it here in the Netherlands. For instance, at first it was good if you went under 6 or something on the Concept 2, and you had these sort of magical barriers, and at some point it shifted to 550, and everyone knew, and everyone could just go at it. I think that's also what you said in the beginning, Olli, is that everyone can compare from across the whole world. So if you're a freshman rower or you're a junior and you sit on this device, you can just do something and then compare yourself to the best of the best, which is a very nice feature, which you couldn't easily do on the rowing boat. And I think if you lose that when you transition to RP3, then there's a gap, that you could provide a lot of scores, and then so everyone gets a sort of a feel or for what is a good score. And
to get RP3 to grow is for more people to start using it. We have to sort of, I think that's what we found as well, is that there is no formula. It's not 12 seconds or 10 or whatever. But it's something that it's a new thing, and it's something that has to grow with more people using it. So we encourage more people to try it out, upload, share your practices, share your trainings, your workouts, put them on the portal, put them online, share them on Instagram, and tag us. We love reposting athletes that use our machines, and see how you do compared to Stef and to Olli.
Exactly. I think you need just to build up a fan base, or a fan base for RP3, and then I saw Instagram accounts where only Concept 2 scores are on. So really, we need to have these sick fans of the machine who are posting all their life they are doing on this machine, and really motivating others to join them.
Question though for Olli. About the K factor or the K value or the damper setting. Do you have something that you pick there, or is it just random? Or
it's more or less random. So the data I'm looking most at during my training is actually the force curve, and then the energy per stroke. This is also always a good measurement where you can really control your training and stay on a certain level. That's what I do usually.
So you're not doing like each training you're aiming to do the same K value or
no, it's more like where I peak at the force curve, so that it's similar as in the boat compared to the measurements we did there, and really to adapt the RP3 training to the rowing to really have the benefit from both sides. usually have like 4 times a year. Connie is coming, so she's a biomechanical, and she is linking the boat with all her stuff, and then we are measuring every stroke of the session and analyzing it, seeing where I can do more leveled with the shoulders, or where I can go faster in the water, where I lose energy at the stroke. That's what we're doing, and I can really translate these data I got there to the RP3 training, because the curve is kind of the same. Of course, as a sculler, you have got 2 curves with the biomechanics, because you have 2 oars, but on the RP3 you can really adapt your curve according to what you're doing in the boat. So this is pretty cool.
Okay. Unless any of you guys have any more questions, thanks so much, Olli. Thanks for being one of the first fans of RP3 that we can add to the group, the users, and we hope that with you a lot more people follow. And we're very curious to see how well you do in Belgrade and then your races afterwards. We believe that it's going to be great, but yeah, we'll see. And thanks for joining us today, and hopefully till next time.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and I also hope that I can help you guys let the community grow, and yeah, maybe I can post a few cool scores for your leaderboard or your Instagram account. Let's see.